Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I am Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing Death Valley. Yes, streaming now on Shudder. This is going to be fun. Stick around. But here's the crew, starting off with my co-host Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Where was Ronald Reagan? I didn't see him. Wait, that was Death Valley Days. Okay.
Yeah, this is not the Death Valley I remember, but that's all right.
I'm doing good.
Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I was actually disappointed. I thought this was a horror movie that takes place at my Clemson University because Death Valley is the name of they're where the football players play. So, but yeah. I went a weird place that I don't know where to go from there.
I'm just gonna be right back.
Yeah, it's a very trivial piece of information for those people that don't know about Clemson Tigers. But anyway, move on.
Also joining us, rounding out the crew, is the one and only Dave Dreher, decked out in orange, looking sharp. How you doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't realize I was so bright until you made me large in the screen here. Yeah, I have no Death Valley anecdote, although I do have a very orange shirt. So there you go.
There you go.
Tigerish.
There you go. There you go. Oh, guys. All right. What we're going to do tonight is review Death Valley. We're going to give our first impressions. That will be spoiler-free. Then we're going to dive into a discussion, which we will dive into spoilers. We kind of have to discuss this film. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, a 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, if you're watching, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others we have on the site. And if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, share with a friend. It'll do wonders. You've heard the spiel. You're hanging out. We're mumbling. Go ahead and do it. Of course, we want to hear your comments. Leave those down below. All right, let's do the card and get going. All right. Boom. Death Valley. That's a really groovy poster there. I like that. 2021. It's playing on Shudder beginning December 9th of 2021. So it's playing, streaming now. Written and directed by Matthew Ninaber. Did I say that right, Dave? Is it Ninaber?
That's how I'm saying it.
Okay.
Yeah, Ninaber.
The cast includes Jeremy Ninaber, Ethan Mitchell, and Kristen Castor. The synopsis: Mercenaries with nothing to lose are hired to rescue a bioengineer imprisoned in a Cold War bunker. Upon entering the ominous facility, they find themselves in a fight for their lives when they come under attack from an unknown and deadly creature. Yes, that's that old chestnut. All right, let's get into this. Dave, since you're here, I'm excited to hear, what was your first impression of Death Valley?
First impression. Well, it's far from a fantastic film. But with that being said, I think they did pretty good with what they had to work with. I'm kind of a bit of a fan of Mr. Matthew Ninaber. Doc, of course, you and I spoke with him back when he was in Psycho Gorman. He was Psycho Gorman in Psycho Gorman. So he's part of the Steve Kosinski crew. You could tell they didn't have a lot of money to work with on this. I dug the creature. I liked the creature quite a bit. But it was very alienish. It had like a Doom feel to it. It kept me entertained. And the fact that I think highly of the filmmaker and the writer helped a lot. I seen what he was trying to do. I'd like to see him be able to get some money and actually, make a film that's not have to be made out of toothpicks and Elmer glue. But I think for what he had to work with, he gave us a pretty solid piece of work here. But like I said, it's far from. There's going to be plenty for Christopher to rip apart when his turn comes.
How do you know?
How many years we've been doing this, Christopher? Come on, I know. I enjoyed it. It's on Shudder. You don't have to go anywhere to see it. Check it out. It's just some good old fashioned guys who like making monster movies making a monster movie.
All right, Dave. Back to Gen Pop for you. All right, Christopher J. Mohr. Sir, what was your first impression of Death Valley?
Wait a minute. I have to know, Dave, do you have Crocs on?
No Crocs on today.
Oh,
The Crocs.
I'm too old for those now. I got my orthopedic sneakers on.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Chris.
They gave him Uggs instead. His feet were cold. Go ahead, Christopher. Sorry.
We went at a weird tangent about feet wear. Well, I will say the strongest part of this is probably the creature, even though it kind of reminds me of the Chatterer from Hellraiser. I mean, they have this sort of interesting mythology, which is actually based on biblical type stuff, but it doesn't make up for the fact that the scariest thing about this film is the acting. With bad Russian accents, with bad just acting, whatever accent you have. A lot of the lines are like monotone. They're just almost like there's no matter what emotion, it comes out the same. And then just lines that were just really bad. And then it tries to sort of be this sort of like Aliens meets The Thing type monster film. And believe me, I'm a fan of 80s horror films. I don't mind if it's cheesy or low budget and that kind of stuff, but low budget doesn't make up for bad filmmaking. This has probably one of the worst choreographed action things I've seen in a very long time. It makes, I don't know, it makes the Chuck Norris series where
oh no,
Walker Texas Ranger, it makes that seem well choreographed on the level of like Jackie Chan. So yeah, I mean, again, the creature stuff is good, but I don't give them a pass because they're low budget, because there's some really badly edited action things in it. And just the acting across the board was really bad, and when you're having really bad lines like, hey, I've got this bad syndrome of, making great sex with people. It's like, what are you talking about? So I don't know. This film frustrated me more than anything. And again, the scariest part is just the acting in it. And I don't. I'll just focus on the creature stuff, which is kind of cool. Which actually, the guy who did the creature is the same director and actor who did Psycho Gorman, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think he does a great job as a creature.
Yeah, Matthew also played the creature. So.
Yeah, and there's even one part where this guy comes in wearing a mask and he sounds like Dark Helmet from Spaceballs.
Oh man!
And I started laughing, like, "Put down your weapon." It's like. I kept expecting to say, "I'm Dark Helmet." And it's like, oh my gosh, this isn't, I don't know. Parts of it were kind of embarrassing. I don't know.
Ludicrous speed.
Yeah, I don't know. This film was ludicrous. Yeah.
No.
I don't have a lot of nice things to say about it other than the creature stuff kind of worked. But overall, some of the move on. I don't want to be the big negative ninny in this group. But I didn't have a lot of enjoyment. This film was slogged for me. So
slog. All right. Well, we'll get back to you, sir. You got a lot more to say, I'm sure. Jeff, sir, what was your first impression of Death Valley?
Well, first, you mentioned I was looking forward to this because of Matthew Ninaber and his brother. Jeremy, who's the lead in this, because of the Psycho Gorman thing and how Steve Kostanski did the creature suit, and we had done another movie by the Ninabers, I don't know, year and a half ago, spring 2020, called Transference, which as I remember, we kind of liked it, but we couldn't quite make sense of it either. And this one has some gaps for me in trying to understand exactly what's going on. Maybe I missed the complete meaning of the Bible connection, but I think there's going to be some people that really enjoy this because there's some definite sort of military horror mashup people that like stuff like this. We reviewed a couple movies that have got tons of comments and watches that we thought was okay, but we had some problems with, but they've had lots and lots of comments. And I think this might be one of them. I agree with Christopher. I thought the biggest fault may have been the editing, although you don't know for sure what they had to work with. I thought the cinematography was kind of good. I mean, I was seeing most of it was well shot. There was a lot of weird, differing angles and things. And I could, besides the fact that they were down underground somewhere, I could track, I didn't know the whole layout, but I knew where they kind of were in relation to each other. Like when Beckett goes into that storeroom where Chloe is hiding, I knew that's what was going on, as opposed to just kind of feeling blind. So they must have some visual cues in there that got me connected. But I didn't quite, anyway, I didn't quite get it. I hate saying I wanted a little bit more explanation because I don't want exposition either. But by the end, I think maybe I kind of figured out what was going on. So, I kind of enjoyed it. And, but it's got some faults.
I'm stuck. I can't move myself.
I was entertained. I was entertained. Yes, I was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to shift you prematurely. I liked parts of it. And it actually hooked me at the beginning with the little preamble thing with the girl and I guess it's actually Chloe, right? The scientist that ends up saying, "Get me out of here! If you want to salvage anything, get me out of here." And I like how it set things up. But then once it gets to the soldiers, it started to lose me, and it didn't really get me back until it got back into the caves and stuff, or back into the underground bunker, and then it was kind of sketchy. I didn't have the greatest time with this. There were times I was like, "Oh, this is cool," and then there were other times I was like, "This is not so cool," and there were other times I was a little bit bored. There was a stretch when they were going through the woods that I wasn't really digging. So it's an uneven film. That does have moments that are worth watching and has like the special effects. I think the special effects are the treat. The creature is really cool. And there's other things too. There's more than just a creature. There's, these certain people that are changing and small spoilers, but they, that stuff's all handled really well. But yeah, I was like, man, how long was this movie? It felt like it was like 2.5 hours, and I went and looked it up, and it's an hour and a half, and I went, oh no, oh man. So I think that alone kind of gives you an idea of how I felt. It just felt like it was going on forever, and I feel bad because I wanted, I was looking forward to it, and I wanted to like it. I was eager for the movie, and I just didn't. I didn't get on board. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I will say they're trying. I mean, like you mentioned the cinematography, Jeff. I mean, they do try. There's like I think they almost like stick a GoPro onto the person's weapon in a few plaaces.
Oh yeah,
during those scenes, it was switching around. So
yeah, and there's like I think they use like a drone and stuff overhead, and so they do try to mix it up. But then the whole time I'm like, there's this whole war thing, and I was like, how many times do they have explosions happen around this guy before he's not blown up? But then it's and so even some of the stuff inside I think is shot okay, but some of the editing, like there's a part where they jump into a river and it's like they cut to them going around in the water. It's like, what are they gonna in their tub? It's like they're not even it doesn't match. And so I was like, this looks stupid, and then there's other places where just
somebody did do the off the cliff stunt. They did do
that. Yeah. Again, there's like parts I think worked okay, but altogether, just the editing of it kind of like showed the seams of everything and made it more, at least for me, it made it more apparent that like, it took me out of the story, and there's like a big fight scene at the end, which, it's it's just really bad, and yeah, and I'll say, I mean, even the beginning it was okay. I mean, for me, I was like, oh, great, we got this female, and she's going to be like having to fight against all these people and stuff. But then she's almost like becomes like a great value version of Jennifer Jason Leigh by the end of it, where it's like everybody's acting as like that main guy. Oh, it's like everything. Like, I'm hurt. I'm in pain.
Was that which
I'm
one's the main guy,
mad.
Beckett or
I'm
Marshall?
happy. It's like everything was on the same level. And I was like, dude, turn the volume up or down or do something different. And I was like, everything was the same. And then his buddy, none of his dialogue was supposed to be, he was supposed to be like the comedic sidekick. And I was like, the dialogue was just stupid. And it's like, and how many times we have to say him making the joke about, oh, I'm great with sex or whatever. Okay, we get it.
Get that one.
but to go into like, Jeff, in regards to the story, they mentioned that Nephilim, which is actually, there's a book, Enoch, which was cut out of later in the Bible or whatever, where basically humans had sex with angels and they created, Nephilim or whatever. So that was like the weird creatures. So I guess that was the biblical thing they which I kind of thought was kind of interesting if you want to create a backstory, but they could have done a whole lot more with that. Because even when we go into that room and they're playing the tape recorder, I'm like, they're trying to pull a little Evil Dead here, listening to, and then the guy like, I don't know. But then it's like they have all these rules and stuff, like, don't talk to, listen to sound, and then they would just yell at each other and say stupid stuff. It's like, what? but then they wouldn't. Yeah.
Well, I got that. Sense. I got that part about the angels. And I don't want to talk in too much detail about it. I'll ask you off air.
Yeah. We're in spoilers for
I
everybody.
wasn't sure about. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But since they'd set up these rules and I didn't kind of follow it, I mean, I did kind of cool when they had the whole like fire weapon, which felt like a combination of other sci-fi action films. So.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too. And they used it properly.
Yeah, I mean, there's explosions, there's guns, there's
blood,
there's stabbing,
there's
blood.
Well,
you can definitely see where
there's flamethrowers.
I mean, I don't know how many explosions they had out in that woods, which I think a normal person would probably be bits and pieces by the end of that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But some of them looked very close too. I mean, some of them were very
some of them happened right next. I was like, what are these Russians idiots? Are they just throwing potatoes at these people?
Potatoes. Oh no.
It's like, I mean, it's like, I don't know how many things they like planes would come over and like drop bombs on them, but it would just be like, right next to them. I'm like, these people would just be bits and pieces by the end of this. So then just the realism. I mean, again, I love Commando. So if I can watch Arnold Schwarzenegger be shot at by a million people, and it's okay. But something about this didn't make sense by the end of it.
Yeah. And I also had a problem that I didn't feel the urgency of it, even though I was told there was urgency. They had to get there, they had to get out in a certain time. But I think I lost track of that. I lost track that, if they didn't get out in time, that, they would have to walk out instead of being flown out. So there was, I don't know. I had trouble getting invested into these two characters. It just didn't work for me, and I didn't feel it. What about you, Dave? Dave, you have maybe some more positive things to add?
Well, no, I mean, everything you guys are saying is 100% true. It was very, very light in story and context. It was kind of confusing. I mean, these guys were very cocky at the beginning. I mean, when we first meet them, the wife or the girlfriend's all upset because he's supposed to be done with these missions. But, one more mission and we'll be able to have a beautiful house and, everything will be fine. And they go in there like they're just going to be, these wonder commandos, and they like right off the bat, walk into a shitstorm, and they spend the whole rest of the time trying to recover from that. And the backstory and the context is there, but at the end it just really don't matter, because for me the only time I was really kind of into it is when the monster was there. So but I thought the monster was good. But with that being said, just like Jeff said, I was entertained though. I mean, I did enjoy watching it. But you can't sit here and say it was a good movie, because we can't lie to our listeners.
I liked it once they found Chloe and they were trying to get back out. There was clues and stuff they were throwing at us about the twist ending, and it started to become more and more apparent what was going to happen, and I like how that was coming together. So I think for me the latter half worked. I got back into it, but from the time they landed, and when I didn't really like the forest part, and then the people that I liked split away from our two heroes, and we're in the movie for like 5 more minutes, and that was it. And then one of them appears later, and I was like, oh, wait, they're supposed to meet up. What's going on? How is going to work out?
Well, they didn't explain. I don't think they fully explained what the extra guy in there was. Did they?
Well, there was a couple extra guys in there. There was a couple extra.
Oh, you mean when she said she killed everybody but one person? Or
yeah, was that the person that came in wearing the whole full? When Dark Helmet came in, was that the person she didn't kill?
I thought that was a Russian. I thought it was one of the Russians that were following.
I was going to say, I thought it was a Russian. I'm sitting there.
So he crawled through the.
I thought they said that was somebody else. I don't know. That's why that's a lot of confusion as to everything that happened, And then there's this, like, I think when you've already made it clear that people can sort of like turn into monsters or whatever, I don't think I would crawl inside of a thing with a dead body. That's just me.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
It didn't make any sense to me.
But you knew what was going to happen, though. I don't know. There was part of that I liked, but because help, I'm stuck. Come get me.
I did like the part where he's like tied to that table and that guy's being attacked next to him.
Yeah,
I kind of like that, because I was like, can you imagine if you're stuck there? I was like, oh crap, I can't do anything.
Yeah, especially when he popped on top
when
of
the
him.
monster comes in.
Yeah.
When the monster comes in, he's attacking that guy. I mean, I kind of like that. I mean, if parts of it were more like that, I think it'd be more interesting.
Yeah, I think that was really well done. Go ahead, Jeff.
Even though some of the choreography, I'm trying to remember if that was the part. Even though some of the fight choreography was kind of disjointed, I liked the fight above ground at the end. The way it ended up, I thought was great.
That was the Walker Texas Ranger moment. I mean, the girl did some cool flips, but some of the hits were just
no. I don't mean that. I mean how it ended.
Story wise, I think you're talking about story wise. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I got you. You mean like the very end thing?
Yeah. Well, the thing with the rope. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I like that too, but the build up to that was just like kind of sad. I was like, I felt like really bad episodes of Walker Texas Ranger. It was like,
you watch way too much Walker Texas Ranger.
I know what you doing.
No, I just watched, when Conan O'Brien was on, they'd show those really bad action scenes. That's what it reminded me of. I felt like Conan he'd do his little thing, and a scene from this film would pop up. I feel like the director's strength is not in shooting action scenarios, or at least shooting it to where you can edit it together properly. I've worked with people who've done action stuff, and there's a way to shoot that to where it flows well. And if you don't, it's going to be very apparent. And that felt very apparent. And maybe they had limited time they could shoot. If they're shooting outside, you have limited hours, so you got to get that stuff done and rush it. But if you don't have the proper people that can choreograph it well, because you can choreograph a fight, but also you have to choreograph it for the camera. And if you don't shoot it a certain way, some of the punches are not going to hit right. And there was some really, really stupid. There was some really badly choreographed punches for the camera, at least to me. But I don't know. That's why I kept looking forward to the monster showing up, because those are the parts I enjoyed a little bit more. The monster showing up.
Yeah, that's why I enjoyed once they got back into the bunker.
But I will not say I unlike you guys, I was not entertained by this film. I was more like, I'm ready for this to end.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts. Our score 1 to 5, and 5 being the best, 1 being the low. And our favorite scene. Dave Dreher, you're up first, sir. Let us have it.
Well, I think we've raked this one over the coals pretty well. I think it's apparent the passion and the love for the genre that Matthew and his team had. It's a shame that money issues or whatever kept them from fully realizing this. But with that being said, I think they did an admirable enough job, given what they had to work with. But it certainly is a flawed film without question. Favorite scene? It's got to be one of the scenes with the monster in it. I'm going to go with the scene, which again we've seen 1,000 times type of movies, but it worked well here as well. When they're kind of trapped and their only way out of the thing is they have to go up and into like an air duct or something, and the monster's right beneath them. And I just thought it looked good. Again, it wasn't anything spectacular, but the monster looked great when they were looking at it, through the grates, doing their John McClane impersonation, looking down through the grate. Again, the monster is definitely the strength of this film. I'm going to give it 2.5. Middle of the road.
Very nice.
Middle of the road. It's on Shudder. It's on Shudder. It's supposed to be rainy and cold this weekend. Go ahead and watch it.
Do it. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, the floor is yours, sir. What was your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Well, I will say as a filmmaker, I know how hard it is to try to do something and be limited on budget and limited on time, and for everything not to work out the way you want it to. So you try to make the best project possible. And I think there are elements of this that show that they're trying to do that, whether it's the use of different camera angles and the outside stuff, and even some of the stuff shot inside is really shot, kind of well. I think a lot of the problems end up just being in the editing, in the choreography, and also the acting. I think, and granted, I love 80s movies where some of the acting isn't the greatest, but sometimes the personality makes you overlook the acting, there wasn't a lot of personality. So it just made me hone in. Oh gosh, to deliver these lines are just like, I felt like I just took a cheese grater to my eyeballs.
Oh no.
Just having to watch this.
That's damning. Oh my god.
But at the same time, I think, I think I could see what they're kind of going for, even though you have to probably know a little bit more information about some of the stuff they talked about. The creatures, are probably the strong point of this, which again kind of reminded me a little of the chatter from Cenobites, if they, were like attacking people and having sex with people. How do
you know they weren't?
It is Clive Barker, so there's always sex in that. Overall, I don't, as much as I can sort of see the passion and stuff they put into this, it doesn't work for me. And this was very hard to get through just based off of just some of the dialogue. And there's these guys that have like really bad Russian accents that go in and out, very Kevin Costner-ish, that didn't work for me. So
it's amazing that we know what that means. That's awesome.
But this is definitely not one of the worst films I've seen this year. So I'll say, just based on the creature stuff and then some of the shot stuff, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. I'll be nice.
Very nice.
So I don't hate it. I just found it to be parts of it just really irritated me and frustrated me.
I would imagine you see it through a very different lens than
I'm
we
looking
do.
at it through a different lens. So, and we're all particular about certain things that we enjoy. that's why some people like. I'm not going to mention that because Jeff will have a field day.
You can
But
do it. Look at that.
what the hell? um, but I will say my favorite scene. I will say I will agree with Dave that the in the when they're in the air duct, which they always happen to have air ducts that are big enough for people to crawl through.
Of
It's not the
course.
reality. There was a part that actually made me kind of jump. I think when his face was close up. But I'll say that the scene that I mentioned earlier, where the guy's tied to the table and the monster's
like that scene.
attacking, I
Yeah.
thought that was a very kind of the one scene that actually was kind of tense and interesting to me was that specific scene. So I'll say that's probably my favorite scene that stuck out in the film.
Very good, very good. That you might have stolen my favorite scene as well, but that's okay. I've got more.
You're
I got
welcome.
more. I got more. Jeff, sir, your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
Yeah, I think some people are gonna like this. It's if you're into sort of action adjacent horror or horror adjacent action, want to see stuff blowing up and people get shot, flamethrower and stuff, then and a monster. I think you can have fun with this. I didn't have near the problem that Chris did with the acting. There wasn't anything in it that bothered me. Like it made me like I was getting mad, which happens sometimes. I just there was a couple things I was a little confused about. So anyway, yeah, I think some people have fun with it. Some people won't like it. I'm going to go 2.75.
Oh wow, nice, good.
And my favorite scene, I already mentioned it. I'm going to take the rope trick.
Nah, I wanted that to
I
be
just-
so much more graphic though, but I
Well,
didn't like it.
yeah,
could've
it could
been,
have
yeah.
been, but I just love the whole thing of it.
It didn't have to be. Let me be clear, it didn't have to be, but I
wanted
was
it to
wanting
be.
it to be.
Right. What happened? You wanted to happen.
Yes. Which is I thought that was clever how they changed that up throughout. All right, I'm sorry, sir. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
All right,
you're
all
right.
right.
But you're right. That character, you're yeah.
You're swat. Yeah, you have one thought, and then at the end you're having another. So yeah, for me, I was. It caught me at the beginning, and then it lost me, and then by the time it would catch me back up again when they got back into the bunker, it might have been a little too late. I agree with Dave and Jeff that there are going to be less jaded people that are going to enjoy it a little bit more than we might. It is the end of the year, and how many movies have we seen this year? So, but I really did want like this a lot more, and I'd heard good things, and what I heard good things about, I actually did like. I did like the creatures and other various special effects. I did not what you're talking about, Jeff, with the certain action element, the military element of it or the mercenary element of it that people were like, I didn't like that. It didn't gel for me. But it did. Yeah. But the other, I saw somebody mention that it felt like a VHS movie, and it does feel. And I think Christopher, you mentioned that it felt like an '80s or '90s, early '90s film, and it does have that feel to it. And it could have leaned into that a little bit more, add a little bit more spice and camp to it to liven it up. And I don't, but it's not there. It's a little monotone and flat until the monster shows up and elevates things, and that's when you're going to like it. And the more you're into that, the more you're going to like this movie. So to me, it's a miss. There is some promise in there, but it's a miss. And I hate saying that, but I'm going to go with 2.5 as well, Dave. I was leaning between 2.25 and 2.5, and I'll go with 2.5. And my favorite scene is the very beginning when everybody's running down the hallway and she gets trapped, and then she has to go back, and there's it felt pretty tense and fast, and I was like, oh man, what's happening? And I was all into it and trying to figure things out. And then she has that to me probably the most engaging moment is when she's recording that message about come get me, because then it was like, oh well, this is urgent, I gotta do something. And then didn't feel it was urgent after that. but I really like that. So yes, if not that, it's definitely the scene where the guy's tied to the operating table or whatever, or maybe it's not an operating table, it's actually a
morgue table.
Yeah. It's right in his face. That's probably the best shot. This one's right in his face, and he's like, "Oh," it's tripping on him. But there you go. That is our review for Death Valley. It is streaming now on Shudder. Yes, sir.
You said Doc showed some promise because both of these movies we've reviewed from Matthew Ninaber had twists in them, and I think with a little more work, he could refine that and make that a real interesting, a more interesting, surprising twist. I think.
Yeah, I mean the
twist is there. Yeah.
It was ambitious. I mean that whole fight scene in the woods was a little bit more ambitious than I think they could do. But there was a lot going on there they were trying to do. It just I don't know what it had to do with the story. I guess I got lost there, but it was filmed in London, Ontario. Just London, Ontario, Canada. So is that London?
A town named London.
London, not London, England, but London in Ontario and Canada. Commas.
Commas between them all.
Yes.
Well, I'll agree with you, Jeff. I mean, I feel like there's definitely potential there. I think if they change, I think I hate to say it, I guess he's related to the actor, but I figure like if they had better actors in those roles, it might have sold it a little bit better. And I think, if they had a little bit more, but I mean, they had a pretty good budget with all the stuff involved. Cause you got like pyrotechnics, you've got, creature effects, you have all these, I mean, I'm sure they probably had to change certain areas are used again to create those areas that look sort of the same when it came to the bunker or whatever. But I think there's definitely potential in that story. And I think the way the twist plays out, I think kind of works for what it is. Cause you think one character's one way and then they becomes, so I do agree with that. I think I do see the potential in that. I just think it just wasn't the way they follow through with it doesn't follow through in the right way. But yeah, I mean, and maybe it's time, maybe it's budget, maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know.
Maybe it's COVID. Who knows?
Maybe COVID. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's Doc trying to close out the session, and
we're just piling some more on.
Off another direction.
All right. Well, we gotta get Dave back to the pen, so let's get out of here. Christopher, Jeff,
get him back in the bunker.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. As we we love our Shudder films, and
we do.
Yeah, check it out. And check it out for yourself. Maybe you'll find
the
some
monster
stuff
is kind of cool. Yeah.
The monster, I think the creature is one of the better creatures. I think in some of these independent films that I've seen, I think it's definitely worth seeing the creature for. I'd like to see. I think that's pretty cool, and I think the director played the creature, so I think he did an amazing job, and I think he does a great job in doing that. Again, I'm a huge fan of Psycho Gorman, so I think physically, I think he pulls that off really well.
Did he really? He put himself back in a suit.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
interview with him.
Yeah. But I think Dave, we're off his Christmas list, so no cards this year.
Might be.
All right, let's get out of here. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.